about recreating these amazing miniature military collectibles, these wonderful miniature brass drums. Now I'll show you this. This is about a 1930s one, and you can see it's got a little brass lug for the snare, little drum skin, brass hoops, and then this wonderfully ornate plaited rope, the graphic itself, the wooden legs, which in theory you can stand it on, but it's missing one. This is a slightly later one, 1950s, both of these made by Henry Potter and Co. This one actually, obviously, you can put pens and pencils in, but the principle is the same. And so what I want to do is try and recreate these as faithfully as possible. Quite hard given that some of the sort of lead paints and some of the components like the brass tubing is no longer available. However, we start with a piece of 5mm doweling, and from that we create the tiny little pegs that go on the drum feet. You can actually create 3 of those. I've only got 2 here for the moment. Once I've done that, I need to start working on the drum hoops. Now I use 2 pieces of flat brass strip, and I hand roll those and create a circle, which I then solder together. And once that has been soldered, we then have to paint it, mask it through a series of different masks, quite labour intensive, and eventually you end up with a painted drum hoop. Now this hoop in this case is red, blue, white, blue, red, similar to this one here, and you can see inside that it's got the markings here for the wood and the black wavy line. Once I've done that, the next thing is to start work on the drum shell itself. I've had to buy the smallest tubing I can find, 3-inch brass tube with a 0.064mm wall, important for later. What we then do is we polish it so it's nice and shiny. We then paint it to a particular colour, and then we add the emblazon, the graphic. This is the replica of this one. It's on a slightly different colour background, so it doesn't look quite authentic. This was just a prototype. So that's the stages that those work up to. Now obviously the next thing we've got to do is think about the drum skin. So I start with real vellum, a 5-inch piece of real vellum, which I soak, cut to size, and then I place it over a spare drum, shape it, cut it, leave it to dry, and it dries taut, and then you can replace that onto the top and bottom of your drum. So here's another one, a different drum getting prepared. So having done that, we then need to focus on some of these components here. So I next deal with the brass lugs on the side, and that starts life as a piece of 4mm brass tube, and what I end up doing then is shaping those by hand, milling them by hand to create miniature brass lugs. Okay, next we have to create these leather ears, the rope tensioners. I've cut some white leather into very small pieces, and then effectively I hand sew each of those into one of the little rope tensioners. And there are 8 of those. And then we've got to think about the snare that goes across. So once the brass lugs have been stuck on, we then join the snare that comes across, gets tied off and crimped. And the final stage then is to take the scaled miniature rope and then to loop it through, tightening the drum, put on the rope tensioners, and in the end we have to finish with this rather ornate rope plaiting to complete the picture. So that's it. It takes about 25 hours or so per drum all the way through. Quite a lot of that's because you've got to wait for various layers of paint to dry.